just a few days ago, we saw the official debut of Retribution, and Flapjack, T-Bone, T-Face, Mace, Puff Daddy, Notorious B.I.G., who knows? It's been very talked about in the last few days on Twitter, Facebook, about obviously a lot of cons. There's got to be some pros here. So I brought two professionals. We got Flobo, Boyce, we got Josh Tariff. But for the sake of Retribution, we're going to give them new Retribution names. We're going to give Josh Tariff Wreckage. And we're going to give Flobo Boyce the old-fashioned, I don't know how to spell it, so forgive me, Shillelagh.
Yes, I asked for this specifically.
I don't even know if I spelled it. Shillelagh. I don't know. Who cares? If you want to rename it, feel free to do so. I try my best. If anybody out there wants,
spelling it wrong is more cool and badass. So let's do it.
Now, George, will you be altering our voices then as well?
I don't have that technology here, but maybe soon. Now, obviously, a lot of criticism has been going on the last couple of days. Again, mostly bad, but again, there's got to be some good. So, Shillelagh, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you first because I know, obviously, I know we're all positive people for the most part, but I know that you'll always try to find the good in something. Not that Wreckage doesn't, but are there any pros when it comes to what we've seen, not just in the last couple of days with Retribution, but in the last month or two since their debut?
Yeah, we're going to talk about the cons in a minute, but there are some good things to take from this. Retribution was announced as a faction months ago, and for weeks it became a giant mystery, which is something you need in the doldrums of the summer. What gets you watching week to week, especially with the pushing back of sports and sports starting up again. There was going to be an ominous threat happening in the fall. There wasn't going to be a season premiere like they had in other ways. You got me a mystery to get me through the end of the summer into this. And the talents featured on this channel right now are NXT talents, as we know so far, but there weren't NXT talents that were doing anything else. Mia Yim was floundering in the women's division. Dominik Dijakovic got sacrificed on camera by a guy who popped his shoulder out and disappeared. I mean, come on. I understand we want things to be cool and badass and Nexus and NWO this and that, but when it comes down to these toys, these guys in these broken toys in your chest, here's something that's interesting for them to do. Here's something that's new and different. And you can't fault the creative company for trying something new.
Going along with what Flobo was saying, I think the biggest plus in this is the fact that Raw, Monday Night Raw, is now really completely covered by your older guys. You have Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley, MVP, Shelton Benjamin, Shane McMahon. So it's like all guys that have been around for a long time and are not really given an opportunity for young, fresh blood to make an impact, to really get a good push per se. The best positive out of this is that you got at least five wrestlers, I should say, guys and girls from NXT that are now getting catapulted as to like the most threatening, biggest thing that's happened to Raw in a long time. And that's a good thing because you need to push the young buck, because whenever Retribution ends, whether that's in a month or a year or 5 years or whenever, there's the young core of wrestlers from this that will hopefully then continue to branch on their own once the Randy Orton, the MVP, the Bobby Lashley, etc., start fading away, because they only have so many years left. So that, I think, is the biggest plus out of this, is the fact that there are NXT people, like Flobo was saying, that were kind of floundering, that had the talent there, but not being used properly there. Now, here's a huge stage for you on the brand that really is covered by the older generation to make an impact. And by the way, George, I need to give you a name as well. I feel like Hammerhead would work well for your Retribution name. Don't know why. It just sounds like it fits. We'll go with Hammerhead.
It's Street Sark, isn't it? Okay.
It's funny. You gave me you gave me an idea yesterday, Josh, and I tweeted it out and nobody retweeted it, but I think it's a genius idea because I remember watching Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and in one of the earlier scenes with Paul Rudd and Jason Segel, they're like, "Oh, are you Chuck? No, man, that's my mainline name. I put my name in a Hawaiian name generator, and out came this." I feel like there needs to be a website, a Retribution name generator, where you put in your name, you answer a question or two, and boom, it gives you your Retribution name. You're welcome, WWE. I need that tweet to get retweeted, reposted, screenshotted, sent over. I'm gonna text somebody. I'm gonna text somebody that I know there. I'm gonna see what he thinks about it. But with that said, now that it seems like we have our official Retribution members, because for a little bit it sounded like, is it going to be this guy? They keep rotating. There's like 20 guys out there. Which ones are the main guys? I'm not going to lie. The very first thought I had when I saw this past Monday, when finally Retribution showed a little bit more of their, obviously, heads, was, wow, good for Mercedes Martinez. Because here's a girl who's been wrestling for 20 years, close to 20 years, and I can almost guarantee you for the first 17 or 18 years of her career, she probably never thought she's going to be WWE. They probably told her she doesn't have a good look. She's got too many tattoos. Even when she was amazing in both Mae Young Classics, they were like, "Oh, we'll see if we find a role for you, but go out there, still work the indies." Even when she got signed with NXT, it was, "Oh, well, we don't know if we're going to call you up. We're probably going to use you to put over younger talent." But now she's on Raw every week, or now she's going to be on Raw every week. To me, I try to look at this glass half full, and that to me was the first thing I thought. Good for some of this talent that probably for the longest time never thought they'd be able to showcase their ability on a weekly show like Monday Night Raw.
Sure. And I agree and disagree at the same time with you, George, because that kind of leads to what my biggest con is with everything. Everything you said about Mercedes Martinez is 1,000% true. And I couldn't agree with it more. She's been around way too long, trying to get her big break. But the biggest thing in wrestling, the reason that everyone was captivated and pulled in with Steve Austin was because we could relate to not being happy with our boss and just wanting a beer and have a good time. People could relate to Daniel Bryan because, he's just so talented, but I'm so talented, but never getting the recognition I deserve because of the way I look or my size or whatever it may be. So that's why those were so successful, because they were relatable. Having T-Bar with an altered voice, the Bane mask, leftover Ascension face paint, come in and cut promos, it's not relatable. But if you had Mercedes Martinez step in the ring, get the microphone, take off her mask. I've been in pro wrestling for 20 years. I dominated both Mae Young Classics. I've been respected by my peers for all this time. And WWE was just like, no, we're going to wait and see. We don't think you fit the part. Well, I am here, and this is my retribution. You go over to Shane Thorne. He's just like, my tag team partner left the company. And I was promised big things because they said, stay with us. We're gonna give you big things. We're going to give you the money. We're going to give you this. And I've just been floundering around waiting for my opportunity. Well, you know what? This is my retribution. You have Dio Madden. The company didn't say I was good to be a wrestler. So I was a company guy and jumped on a commentary booth. And then Brock Lesnar F5'd me through an announce table and I was hospitalized. Did anybody check on me? Did anybody care on my well-being? No, they just went on with life without me, and I was never mentioned. I was an afterthought. This is my retribution. These are different examples of these guys where if something like that were to happen, people be like, oh, I get it. I can relate. They're pissed. This makes sense. But instead, we're just having like the scary masks, which if this was like in the late 80s, early 90s, this would be the greatest thing in the world. But it's 2020. And when you have Dio Madden doing his regular tweets that he normally does, and then on Raw, he's Bane or whatever he is with the mask. You can't dive into it as much as we should because, like we were talking about, the young, hungry talent is there, and they're all very talented wrestlers. So it's one of those things where if it was, I don't want to use the word real, but if it felt more real, then I think it would be more appreciated.
Allow me to disagree, but I don't know if I cut you. George, do you have a question? Do you have a question, or should I respond to that first?
I want you to disagree first.
Hell yeah,
disagree.
Look,
Disagree.
I think what you did was a good way of getting those characters out. And I think as a man in my mid-30s, I am rocking with you. But wrestling's not made for us. We just hang on. We've aged out of it, but we still tune in every week. So I don't think anyone in the target demographic, we're talking families and males ages 13 and 19, are not going to associate with someone being, for 20 years I've been doing this. So I understand the need. On paper, Retribution made sense. If I sat in the writer's room and I said, how about we had this infiltrating force that didn't mess up one show 1 week, but all shows, both shows, multiple times a week on Fox, on USA, it's crossing over, it's very Avengers, it's very Now, it sounds great. I think the two critical problems Retribution had was, one, they took too long to tell us the why. Why were they messing up SmackDown? Why were they messing up Raw? And the second thing is, when on all the names, it all came at once. And so this outside force came and run rush out over weeks and months, and then presumably Adam Pearce gave these guys a contract to be in the main event. If I'm Randy Orton, I'm upset. I'm the one contender. Why are these guys in the main event? So I was turned off for that. But I understand the need of doing the whole Ultimate Marvel Universe and giving them fancy names, but it was all too much too fast. If these things were dropped in weeks, if T-Bar and Slapjack, we got our jokes out last month, and when they finally showed up and made sense, I think we'll be more on board.
I mean, I do think that, and obviously the answer is yes. I know that us fans, wrestling fans in general, are very, very spoiled, where we just kind of, a lot of it is just, we just want everything, what we want. We just want to take, and really, like, for what though? Like, no, I'm not saying, please don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we need to sit back and take whatever they give us. We're allowed to have our opinions. We're allowed to critique stuff. But at the same time, it does feel like sometimes we're reaching out for the criticism. Now, we were much younger when this happened, but you have these characters that, like The Godfather or Kama, with no reference to Papa Shango, as if those two people were completely different people. Even look at someone like Rikishi. I don't remember ever once them referencing his stint as a head shrinker, right? Or even try to make it exactly, or even try to make a difference. You know, when he came back with the colorful tights. So why should this be any different when it comes to like, that's clearly Dominic Dijakovic, that's clearly Mia Yim. Why not give them a chance to kind of recreate and rebrand these guys when Mia Yim was not doing anything on NXT? My biggest fear for Dominic Dijakovic, first off, he wasn't going to be called Dominic on the main roster. We all know that. He wasn't going to be called Dijakovic because that's just hard to chant. So why not allow them to present them in a new way? And quite frankly, a lot more people are talking about him now than they ever did in his stint on NXT as Dominic Dijakovic.
Yeah, you make a good point, and let's go back to what I was saying a moment before. If the plan was to have him debut this week anyway, there was more than enough time to cut promos and to have side things saying, my name is T-Bar or whatever. Again, we got our jokes out, we got our motivations in, we were able to link and merge those timelines together. But you go from this giant mystery to being like, who is they? Who are they? To, okay, here's you, and you are the main event. It was way too much too fast. And that's what we call melodrama, right? When you don't have enough steps in dramatic beats in any kind of story, and we're just kind of along for the ride, it's The Room. And then we all laugh at The Room because it made no sense. It went from 0 to 100 real quick. Hey, Mark.
And along with that as well is the fact that, George, like you were saying, you know, nobody referenced Kama to Papa Shango to The Godfather because also there was no social media back then. There was only one television program, where now you have Raw and NXT on the same network, where 4 or 5 weeks ago, Tom Phillips and Byron Saxton were on commentary for a Mia Yim or Mercedes Martinez match, and now they're on commentary on Raw, not having any idea who they are. You know, it's one thing if they're like, this person formerly known as Dominic Dijakovic now wants to go as T-Bar. It's like that. I would expect that more than for us to just completely forget that they exist. And I agree with you with the fact that, yeah, they're not going to call him Dominic because Dominic Mysterio. They're not going to call him Dijakovic because it's a long name, and that's why they got rid of Dosovic's last name. They're not going to do that. So you knew a different name was inevitable because, hell, back when the Bellas were announced to be in the Hall of Fame, they appeared on SmackDown for a moment of bliss. And that was the 1 week Nikki Cross wasn't there because, God forbid, you have two Nikkis on the show at the same time. So that's just something WWE does in general. But when you want it to act like we're all just dumbfounded and don't remember what this person is, because just wearing a half see-through mask, we can still tell exactly who it is. And Flobo, you were mentioned earlier as far as like the demographics. Well, the biggest demographic they always fight for is the 18 to 49. And because those are the ones, the kids want the merch, but those age are the people who buy the merch. And the kids don't buy merches from heels for the most part anyway. So they're focusing Retribution in that 18 to 49 demographic. If they were bright colored good guys, yeah, that makes sense. Then that's definitely for a kid thing. Yeah, go Mace. Which just sounds weird to say. But yeah, it's those type of things that make it, again, I go back to needed it to be relatable. The reason that some things seem to be more popular than others to the fan standpoint on social media is because they feel it's more relatable. Whether it's comical, whether it's serious. If you could be like, okay, I can relate to this story or to this guy or to this girl, that's going to make it more money.
I have to ask, just because there was a visual on Raw that I was like, man, like I see some similarities, and it's crazy how we kind of tend to critique, obviously, Retribution, but then I'm thinking to myself, like, is this everything that Sanity should have been? You have, the kind of badass looking man, kind of that Mad Max cyborg kind of feel. And I'm thinking, like, this is everything that Sanity should have been. So why would it have been okay for Sanity and if that was Sanity in this position? Oh, hell yeah, man. Eric Young. Oh, they're using him, right? Alexander Wolf. I forgot the other guy, Killian Dane and Nikki Cross, and I'm thinking, like, this is everything that Sanity should have been. Like, so if that was the case, everybody, and again, I'm just assuming here, I think a lot of people would be like, oh, hell yeah, Sanity, it's about time they're using them. So why would it have been okay for them, but not okay for, let's say, these new guys, Retribution, that are essentially new to the main roster audience?
Because they gave a breakdown of what Sanity was and what they stood for before they even debuted on NXT. And then they were trying to, raise the chaos. And it was three guys and one girl. People knew Eric Young from TNA, but you didn't know. WWE fans might have not known him. And so this was a new for this program, new for this brand, new for this company. So then when they built it up for the chaos, and I absolutely agree with you, this is what Sanity should have done when they debuted on Raw or SmackDown and just wreaked havoc because that's what they stood for. But then with that, all of a sudden you would say, oh, this is Sanity. These are the guys that have completely tore up NXT for the last 2 years. That's Eric Young. That's Killian Dane, former tag team champion. So it's like all of a sudden they're being put on that pedestal because they're being recognized for what they've done and are being identified as an immediate threat. Well, Retribution, it was everyone just running away. Yeah, they're a threat, but we don't know who they are. We don't know what their story is. And now that we see who they are, it's like, oh, well, if you watch this other show from the same company that's on the same network, you would already know who this is, but we call them a different name there. and that just lowers the motivation of getting behind it.
What do you think, Flobo?
I think a lot of creative stories. We're talking Batman. We're talking Sherlock Holmes. We're talking Breaking Bad. Not many things hit their stride the first scene, the first show, the first thing. So there is a window there that they can really save this, and it can be one of the more okay. They start off kind of weird, but it made a lot of sense. To answer your sanity point, yeah, because they were on NXT for a long time. When they moved to the main roster, it was kind of a thing. I never saw them as like craziness for craziness sake. I was like, they were more like chaos because we were above it kind of a thing. That's me personally. Again, a lot of the problems with Retribution were the names were kind of out of left field because we saw Mia Yim, 6 days prior or 13 days prior, and her name has changed. And that's why a lot of us make that jump and go, what's going on? So I feel like there's room for it to make sense. I feel like the Street Profits were different when they came to the main roster, but they found a way to beat them Street Profits on Raw. Contrast to the Viking Raiders, who were different. They were okay for a while, but then it kind of floundered. So anything's a crapshoot, especially on the Red brand, when they tend to drop ideas more on that one than any other one, hacker notwithstanding. But it's not out for Retribution quite yet because we like the parts. I want to see Dijakovic. I didn't like the fact it was written off telling Keith Lee, it's okay, brother, I asked for this. So I'm cool. I want to see him in a brand new way. I want to see Mia Yim win. Mercedes Martinez looks like somebody you want to catch in a dark alley. So yeah, more power to them.
I do want to end up this program having some fun. So with that said, you obviously have T-Boz, Chili, Mace, whatever, as mentioned before.
Bad boy.
So let's be real. It would be very, very disappointing if they come out and say, all right, we got T-Bar, Mace, Flapjack, and we have Mia and Mercedes. They gotta have Retribution names, so I want you guys each give Mia and Mercedes their Retribution names.
Ooh, okay. Oh man.
Which way
I feel like I'll take Mercedes. You take Mia.
Okay.
Mercedes. I feel like it's gonna be, man. It's a tough one. I feel like almost like along the lines of George, you being named Hammerhead. I feel like she's going to be called like something weird, just like Shark Tooth, or just like some like she's going to be some like fictional dangerous animal.
Yeah.
Or well, I would say Tasmanian devil, but I don't think that'd be allowed to be called Taz. Yeah, I'll just go with Shark Tooth. Screw it.
Well, if all the male competitors have like striking names like a T-Bar or a Slapjack, I think all the women are going to have cutting names. So I'm going to give Mia the name of Scythe.
By the way, quick sign up. Do we think there's a separate leader, or do we think this is it?
There has to be.
Honestly, do you think we're gonna really wrap this up in like 15 seconds? Do you think if Shane McMahon were to come out and say, you know what, I'm behind Retribution. You guys screwed me over in the past. I was supposed to be the next person in line for WWE. Now I'm the one that brought in Retribution. Would that make sense in some way?
No.
Wow.
I think it will make more sense if it's either Keith Lee or Samoa Joe as the leader.
Keith Lee, Samoa Joe, what?
Well, Keith Lee showed up and has just kind of been around, and his matches are never ending. And obviously, he has a relationship with Mia Yim and Dijakovic. So if they want to make it relatable, they could do that. Or Joe magically was off TV. I know there are different rumors, contract things, or anything like that. But he's been like, itching to pick a fight more and more on commentary. So I think it might be a nice swerve where all of a sudden he's gone from commentary and now he leads that group.
If anybody out there wants to give us your Retribution name, I'm more than happy to hear about it on Twitter, on the comment section on YouTube. I want to know what you guys think. Obviously, the big consensus seems to be like a lot of cons in Retribution and just the whole execution of it. But I want to hear, what are your guys' pros? I want to know what you guys think are positive, if there is anything positive about Retribution. But if anybody wants to hit you up on Twitter, no, you're not at Shillelagh. No, you're not at Wreckage on Twitter. So
yes.
So go ahead and put over your guys' own social media handles.
Hit me up, Josh.
Well, I will hit you guys up at Josh_Tariff on Twitter and Instagram, YouTube.com/Josh Tariff. And talk with me. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I want to hear either way.
Yeah, if you disagree with him, definitely hit him up. At
Yes.
Boyce on Twitter. Say what's up, man.
Hey, it's Christy Olson. If you like this video as much as I did, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so they can join in the Wrestling Chatter too. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow the show on Twitter at TW Chatter. See you next time.